And no one, criticizes when the Christians Christianize knowledge, when Hindus Hinduvise knowledge, and everyone is doing that. They have to do it. But when they say Islamic knowledge, people become just very much angry. What are you saying? This is not good. This is that. It's that. So it's not Islamic knowledge. So we have Islamized it. And it was Epistemology Farooqi. It has been acknowledged by non-Muslims, that's important, that Islam of knowledge was a great movement in that sense, and he wanted to understand the challenge of modern times through dawah, through education and Islamic knowledge. He proved to be the intellectual parent of John, as I mentioned already. And according to Hussein Nasr, now it's a very interesting thing, Hussein Nasr says something very great about Epistemology Farooqi. He says that he was the first Muslim scholar to devote to Islamic studies in America and to make that land his home. Hussein Nasr is a scholar of great repute and one of the greatest scholars of modern times, despite we may have disagreements. And you may have, I have, others have, but no, still he is a great scholar, no doubt about that. And he acknowledges something. He represents the beginning of an exceptional chapter in Islamic studies during the 20th century. One that is based not in the Islamic world but in America. He was both influenced by Arab nationalism, he says, and Western philosophy in his earlier career. But his ardent faith pulled him through his early intellectual odyssey, ever further into the domain of religion. So in this way he says that he in earlier stage was influenced by Arab nationalism, but later on he came back to, it was with Akbar also. Great people always get influenced by the new trends. Once upon a time, Iqbal was influenced by Mere Watan Ka Zarra, Har Zarra Mujhko Khuda Hai, like that. But later on, he says, Jo pair hum uska hai, wo mazhab ka kafan. In taza khudaon mein bada sabse batni. So great minds get attracted by new thoughts. They are not stagnant, they are not inert. Because they react and they respond to the challenges which they found in front of them. So in this way, he was influenced. But later on, he just came out from that. He turned away his face from secularism and devoted to religion, at the heart of which stood Islam. In his book, he looks more as a religious warrior. So this is a little bit objectionable. Can we call him a religious warrior? Because sometimes, I have seen this trend has been very common when people compare Ghazali and Ibn Taymiyyah. They say Ibn Taymiyyah was responsible for everything what is happening in the world, and Ghazali was not. Alhamdulillah, I have worked on both these philosophers. I have written books also on both. But both were sincere scholars of Islam. And we can't just dub them extremists or this and that. No. These were the need of the times when they have just responded to the challenges. It has happened always. So, but to give them names like warrior or guerrilla or activist, so sometimes it just try to diminish their scholarly stature. But no man like Hussein Nasr, they say, religious warrior out to defend the state of Islam, then a detached scholar. And I could not understand what we mean by detached scholar. If you are a Muslim, وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَمَنْ أَحْسَنَ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ Who else will be the best in his speech and his discourse than a person who is a Muslim? And who says I am a Muslim and his actions also prove that his actions are pious. So we have to call ourselves Muslim. Why do we have to be detached? We have to tell what is to be told to the people because we are da'is also. Whether we are scholars or we are commoners. And we have a message. So in this way, who would seek to reach mutual religious and intellectual understanding with other religions. Sometimes what happens, because of being detached, you accept many views that those may touch sometimes polytheism and pantheism. And I have that problem with Hussein Nasr. That when he advocates the philosophy of perennialism, that touches sometimes the Waqtul Adyan. And then we are justifying everything whatever is happening. So that is debatable. These books were not only polemical and challenging to Western scholars attacking Islam's worldview, and some of its tendencies, they were also scholarly substance. Alhamdulillah, he accepts that they have scholarly substance as well. Many themes and theses of Farooqi may not be acceptable to many Muslims, traditional and modern scholars. For example, his espousal of a certain kind of what one might call new selfism, emphasizing the teachings of Ibn Taymiyyah and his students, and continuing it with a rationalism which emphasizes only the transcendence of God at the expense of his nearness and immanence. Here I have a problem being a student of philosophy, I am aware about what Hussein Nasr wants to say. Because there are people, they want to just justify their pantheistic view of parallelism among Muslims, and they have the old religion, and which is running through all the religions, and there is no one truth, everywhere there is truth. Or in the Gandhi's philosophy, all religions are true. And God, he says truth is God, God is not truth, because if I say God is truth, who is God? But at least everyone believes in truth, if not in God. There are religions which don't believe in God, but they believe in truth. So there is problem with these religions, how many gods? But so far Islam is concerned, it is very clear, Tawhid is very clear. And Epistemology Farooqi was clear about this aspect. Transcendence of God, not eminence. Eminence means God is everywhere. As Hussein Nasr has said, God is the environment. God is the environment. So that is Wahatul Badiyah, not Wahatul Wujud. There may be difference of opinion. And called him to reject the world tradition of Islamic philosophy. And he has not rejected philosophy as such. But he has just tried to present Islamic philosophy in such a way which is going to be in conformity with Tawhidic dimension. That's very important. And he has interpreted philosophy not in the way as classical Muslim philosophers have done. He has given a new dimension to that. That's Islamic knowledge. And he is more interested in epistemology than metaphysics. And sometimes more interested in axiology and ethics than in metaphysics. So there is nothing wrong with that. And new thinkers are not necessarily as we have a great scholar in the West, that's Wittgenstein. He was basically an architect. And then he abandoned everything and he became a great philosopher. And he did not study all the great philosophers like Plato or this, but he gave a new impetus to philosophy like this. In the same way, a new thought was generated, and if thinking is philosophy and philosophy is thinking, so this is also philosophy. So how we can say that he was opposite to philosophy in that sense? Anwar Ibrahim thinks, now there is one article by Anwar Ibrahim also, so he is a very important person. So he thinks that Ismail al-Farooqi clearly saw the deplorable state of Arab world as symptomatic of deep-seated malaise, one that would not appear to have changed much. In this regard, at risk of sounding like a broken record, he constantly rallied at the powers that be for their utter lack of conviction in bringing about education reform.